Okay, what I'd like to talk to you about in this talk is about something that probably sounds very unusual, male initiation. And the reason it sounds unusual is because we've pretty much lost the custom in the West for 1,000 years now. And in that, we are an exception to every primal culture in the world. The initiation of the boy into manhood was deemed apparently absolutely necessary for cultural survival and for personal spirituality.
What does it mean to be a man today? Capital M.
What does it mean to be a man today? A student of love. To be a student, not a teacher, not a master, not a obnoxious, self-righteous, pontificating lecturer, but just to be a student among students, a worker among worker. A human among human, someone who needs to ask for forgiveness and someone who needs to share forgiveness, someone who needs to ask for healing and someone who needs to be a servant of healing. The St. Francis prayer, to bring light where there is darkness.
The irony about power is you really don't have it unless you're willing to give it up.
What does it mean to be a man today?
Authentic vulnerability. That's the first two words that come to mind. Authentic vulnerability.
Is to be authentic, to be vulnerable when needed, to be open to other men and women in conversation, to be truthful, and to just not bullshit.
I have no idea. I have no idea what it means to be a man today. And I'm happy about that. It's not a negative. I think we really are shaking it up. There certainly aren't very many people in the broad public arena that are telling us what it's like to be a man today. It feels to me that it's the vestiges of an old way of being a man, clinging on for life. It's like at the edge of a cliff, trying to scrabble up the cliff because that man is dying, and it's going to die, and it's happening fast, and breaking down any ideas about what it means to be a man, really destroying it all so that each of us can just show up as human beings where our gender as a man is not the primary thing that somebody sees when we walk down the street.
My first encounter with men's work was the Men's Rites of Passage that I went to in 2001. Got into it through a friend who was part of the New Warriors movement, which is now called Mankind Project, and he was one of the leadership from Indianapolis, and he'd always wanted me to do their initiation process, but I never considered it for myself until he got lung cancer and passed away. He was a good friend and a soul brother, and the reason I went was to honor him. I'm 49 years old when I went, so I heard about and found out about Richard Rohr doing these Men's Rites of Passage, and I'd studied and read Richard's work, and I felt like I could trust the process that he was involved with, so that's how I felt empowered to go.
The last 6-7 years, we've been giving these initiation rites up here at Ghost Ranch, where I've been trying to learn from this cross-cultural phenomenon and try to put it together in a way that would communicate the same messages and make sense to North American men who weren't initiated when they were 15. But now we find ourselves longing for it at 35 and even 55. And it was probably a presumptuous thing to do, but I knew we had to start somewhere. First thing, the boy is always separated from business as usual. Transformation, initiation, getting the great vision can't happen inside of brick and mortar and asphalt. You always have to take the boy into nature. There's not a single exception to that. It's only when he's in the middle of nature that he has to respect something that's bigger than he is. Right? This is natural greatness that he can't control, that he's in awe of. And he has to be left there normally, like we see in the vision quest of the Native Americans. He has to be left there long enough and quiet long enough, almost always solitude and silence is of the essence, so he can observe the patterns of nature itself, of the animals, and start sinking back in to his solidarity with the universe.
In the early days, when we were just starting out, as we weren't Illuman, we were men as learners and elders, and it was just really a bunch of guys that had kind of, were orbiting around Richard, and so we were learning about non-dual thinking and, getting out of the monkey mind, and we were learning how to center ourselves and do contemplation and finding ways to serve and give back, those kinds of things. And what I think, even more than all of that, because those were delicious ideas to encounter and to work with, we were looking across the aisle at one another, and this thing that was happening among us that you'd call brotherhood or community, or and I think it's what we were all longing for, this deep connection with another man.
For other men to see a man love other men in a healthy way, I think that's eldering right there. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
Where would you insert loving yourself into that definition?
I do have a good story on that one. It's one I rarely tell, but here we go. So years ago, in the midst of that years of liminal space of the divorce, as I said, times were hard. It was really hard. It was the hardest time of my life. And there were many times where I just thought, I don't know if I can hold this all together anymore. And one night I had a dream. And in that dream, it was the perspective that I was looking down. It was dark, but there was a little bit of light. And I was looking down at a man that was holding a boy in his lap. He was hugging a boy in his lap. And there was just a little bit of light, like a glow of something. I don't know what it was. But in the dream, I started going down closer and closer to these two. And then I realized that I was the man and I was the boy. So, in the dream, the man was hugging this little boy who just needed a hug. So, because of that dream, that has been the lesson that has come to me is to learn to love myself. And when I'm good, I can do that. But the dream's always there to remind me.